story. The Keeper of the Amber Honey, Chapter 1. Deep within the heart of the great northern range, where the pine trees are so tall they tickle the bellies of the clouds, lived a bear named Barnaby. Barnaby was not a fierce grizzly or a sleek black bear. He was a cinnamon bear with fur the color of toasted bread and eyes the shade of river stones. While other bears spent their days competing to see who could catch the fastest salmon, Barnaby had a much more important job. He was the official caretaker of the hollow. Barnaby's home was a sprawling den tucked beneath the roots of an ancient silver-barked oak tree. Inside, it didn't smell like a damp cave. It smelled like dried lavender, cedar chips, and the sweet, lingering taste of beeswax. Every morning, Barnaby would wake up, stretch his heavy paws until his claws gave a satisfying little click, and brew a large pot of chamomile tea in a giant clay kettle. On this particular morning, a thick mist had rolled down from the peaks, wrapping the forest in a quiet white blanket. Barnaby stepped out of his den, his thick fur dampening in the cool air. He noticed a small shivering figure sitting on a stump. It was Pip, a young cub from the valley who had lost his way in the fog. Pip's ears were drooping, and his little black nose was twitching with worry. "Now then, little one," Barnaby rumbled, his voice like the low vibration of a cello. "No need for trembling. The mist is just the mountain taking a deep breath. Come inside, and we'll wait for the sun to find its way through the branches." He gently nudged Pip toward the warm glow of the den, beginning a day that would turn into a grand, slow-paced adventure. That is the end of Chapter 1. Are you ready for Chapter 2, or are you already asleep? You're ready? Excellent. Chapter 2. Once Pip was warmed by the fire and a bowl of porridge drizzled with clover honey, Barnaby realized the cub wouldn't be able to find his mother until the amber honey was harvested. In the Whispering Woods, amber honey wasn't made by bees. It was a magical sap that dripped from the sunstone rocks during the highest point of the day. When the sap flowed, it let out a golden light that cleared even the thickest fog. "We must head to the Singing Falls," Barnaby explained source of cool spring water. The journey was long, and for a small cub like Pip, it felt like climbing a mountain. They trekked through meadows of bluebells that chimed softly as their fur brushed against them. Barnaby taught Pip how to walk the bare way, placing each paw deliberately, feeling the strength of the earth beneath them. They encountered many friends along the way. They met Matilda, an elderly great gray owl who lived in a hollowed-out hemlock. She gave them a map drawn on a dried leaf, showing the secret paths that avoided the thorny brambles. They met a family of beavers who were busy building a dam of silver birch. The beavers gave them a walking stick for Pip, carved from a sturdy piece of driftwood. As they climbed higher, the air grew crisp and smelled of snow and pine needles. Barnaby told Pip stories of the Great Bear constellation in the sky, explaining how the stars were actually glowing paw prints left by the first bear who walked across the heavens. Pip listened, his small legs tired but his heart full of wonder. As the sound of the singing falls, a melodic crashing roar began to echo through the trees. That is the end of chapter 2. Are you ready for the final chapter of our story, bestie? Alrighty, let's go. Chapter 3. When they finally reached the Singing Falls, the sun was at its zenith. The water didn't just fall, it tumbled over rocks that looked like giant emeralds, making a sound like 1,000 tiny flutes. At the very top of the falls sat the Sunstone, a flat orange rock that glowed with a soft eternal heat. Barnaby climbed the rocks with practiced ease, his large paws finding grip in the smallest crevices. He reached the stone just as the first drop of amber honey began to ooze from the crack in the center. It was thick, glowing, and smelled like every summer afternoon that ever existed. He caught the golden sap in a crystal jar, and as he did, the glow from the jar pierced through the mountain mist like a lighthouse beam. From far below in the valley, a loud echoing roar answered them. "That's your mother, Pip," Barnaby smiled. With the fog cleared by the amber honey, they made the long, slow descent back to the meadows. Pip was so tired that he eventually had to ride on Barnaby's broad, soft shoulders, his small paws buried in Barnaby's thick cinnamon fur. By the time they reached the edge of the woods, Pip's mother was waiting. There were nuzzles and huffs of relief, and Pip He walked back to his den under the silver oak, the moon now rising to take the place of the sun. He crawled into his bed of soft moss and goose feathers, the jar of amber honey sitting on his bedside table, casting a warm nightlight glow across the room. As the wind whistled softly through the oak roots, Barnaby closed his eyes, his slow, steady breathing matching the rhythm of the forest. He was the keeper of the hollow, and all was right in the woods. The end. It is time for you to sleep, bestie, after this bedtime story. Good night.